Hi, good morning.
Hi, Samir. Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, Samir.
So we'll start the session. So yesterday we were discussing about, I think we have started and we started discussing about a couple of points on the, Route 53. So we checked how the Route 53 works on the theoretically. So I'll show you some certain labs on the Route 53, how to implement the Route 53. And then we'll see how we can communicate and integrate with our load balancer also. So yesterday what we did is that we went to, one second, let me share my screen. Uh, Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Okay. So yesterday we went to my GoDaddy, right? So we have seen that we have our account in GoDaddy. So if I want to configure the same thing in my, Route 53, how can I do it? So let us simply configure this with EC2 or, configure with our Route 53. So first we need to have the machine if I want to deploy or if I want to host in Route 53. So I'm going here quickly and say launch instances, type Windows, select, next, 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 next. I'm saying all traffic, anywhere, review and launch, create a new key pair, R53 lab, download key pair, scroll down, launch instances. So I'm creating quickly one EC2 instance to launch the web server. So website I'm launching. So I will say R53 lab, save. Now this is getting created. Okay. Now go here. Now, how do I use this DNS? If you see here, connect, RDP client, download, go here, connect. So let's wait for a few minutes. It's loading. So I think initialization started. You just need to give a minute's time. Okay, so it's connecting, right? So click on this and say connect, RDP client, get password. So wait for a minute till the password gets loaded. So refresh, connect, RDP client, get password, just wait for 2 more minutes. We'll just wait for 1 more minute so that it gives us the password. Then we'll install the website. Okay, let us try now. Connect, RDP client, get password, and browse. Go here, the downloads. Okay, got it. scroll down, decrypt password, copy this, go here, go here. Okay, Control V. Yes, so you're able to access. Just wait for a second. Okay, it's loading. Okay, now it's got loaded. Now what we need to do, we need to host the website. So go to Start, Server Manager. So now just a second. Add roles and features. Just wait for a minute. Again, I'm clicking on add roles and features. Click on next. 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 Installing the IIS, select here, add features. Next, 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 install.
Sorry, Samir, I just want to understand what lab have you started?
The yesterday's theory, what we did, no? Route 53.
Okay.
So what we are doing is that we are installing an operating system, and top of that we'll host a website, and that we will see how to use it through our Route 53.
Okay, thank you.
So it is installing, just wait for 2 minutes. So almost getting installed. So meanwhile, let us check for the web page content. So in my laptop, I have a web page content. So I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. So I can see installation succeeded. Close. You need to go here and go to this PC. C, inetpub, www root, Control A delete. and paste your content. So just wait till it gets copied.
So from local machine, you just copied, you click Control C and Control V here, right?
Yeah.
So it works in that way. Got it.
Okay. Now I hosted my website. So I'll go down here. I'll go to my browser. Go up, go to the instances. So copy this in the browser. So I go here and say Control V. See, I'm able to access my website, right? Now what I need is that now if I want this website to be accessed with the help of domain name, I need to go either in GoDaddy or through Route 53. So let us check first through GoDaddy, then we'll go and configure the Route 53. Open link in a new tab. So this is my Route 53 page. Okay, so hosted zones are there. Let me delete all the old hosted zones so that there is no confusion. So I'll say delete. Delete. So I'm just deleting the old hosted zones. So delete Madi. Then go here and say delete. Okay, so okay, there is a records are there. It is saying no problem. I will delete the records inside this and then I will try to delete this. So if I go here, I will select here and I will say delete. Where is this record? Delete record. So delete. I deleted it. The other things it's okay. So let me close this and I go to the hosted zones here and I'm just deleting. Say delete. Go and say delete. Yeah. So now you have deleted everything. Now let's assume that you want to access this website through GoDaddy. Then what you need to do is that this is my GoDaddy account. So I go to this website here and I can just give the details. So manage DNS, I can say, and I can say edit, and I can put the IP address of that machine. So this machine IP is 13.222. So go here, remove the IP address, what it is pointed. So save and say save. That's it. You are ready to access. Now, if I go to the browser and say sarainterior.com, I'm able to access. If you want, you can test it from your browser or your laptop or from wherever you want, you can test it. From your mobile, you can just go and type sarainterior.com. You should be able to access this website. Are you able to access? Just check.
Yes, sir, it's accessible.
Accessible, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is through directly through your GoDaddy. Now let's assume that you don't want to use GoDaddy. You want to do it through, take an example, you want to do it through Route 53. Then go here, create a hosted zone. Okay. What is the name of the website which you want to access?
Sara Interior.
Yes. Video.com. Scroll down. It should be a public or private hosted zone.
Public.
Yes, create hosted zone. Very good. So your sarainterior.com got created. Now what should I do here? If I want to access Route 53.
Need to transfer the from GoDaddy to AWS.
So what is that I need to do? I go to domain manager. So what you need to do is that if you don't want to use this, then what you need to do is go to the name servers here, click on change, scroll down. Can you see the name? This one, enter my own name servers. If you want to use Route 53, you need to mention it as enter my own name servers. Click on enter my own name servers. What is that I need to add here? Go to Route 53. In the Route 53, when you create a hosted zone, you can see, can you see this name servers here list? All are able to see this list. Control C, Notepad, paste it. So these are the name servers which are provided by AWS.
Is that
Okay.
automatically provided when you create a
Yes, when you create a hosted zone, automatically it will be there. So you no need to do anything. Okay. Now what you need to do is that you need to copy this. Control C. Where do I need to paste? Go here. Here you need to paste. Okay. Copy this name server from your Amazon. And where do I need to paste? Copy here, and where we need to paste? In GoDaddy name servers, right? So there we are replacing the name servers from GoDaddy to Amazon.
All the four,
Pardon?
all four name servers will paste on this same location.
Can you repeat? I didn't understood.
मैं कह रहा था फोर नेम सर्वर्स जो मुझे हमें मिले हैं और ऑटो जनरेटेड में वो सारे पेस्ट करने हैं या सिर्फ लिमिटेड?
Yeah, those all things you are changing it. So I'm going to sarainterior.com. I need to go to the DNS of sarainterior.com and I need to put the name servers. Scroll down here. Manage DNS. यहाँ पर क्या करना है? Change. Scroll down. Enter my name on name servers. Control V. Notepad. Copy. Control V and say save. So what it is saying now? Can you read this? Can anybody tell this what it is saying? Yes. Changing the name servers is risky. Could you want to potentially disappear as I want consent to update my name servers? So I'll say click on continue. So now what's happening is that my name servers are pointing to Amazon Route 53. Okay. So which means that GoDaddy will not manage my DNS server because now Amazon is managing. So GoDaddy will not have an option to manage my name server. Scroll down. So what it is saying now? Can you read? Anybody read this? We can't display your DNS information because your name servers aren't managed by us. So it's not managing anymore. Why it is not managing? Because right now you have changed the name servers, and these name servers, whatever you have changed, are managed by Amazon. So if you go here, now this fellow is managing this name servers. Now refresh your Route 53. Okay. Now scroll down. Now what should I do? I should create a record. Click on create record. So what is the IP address of your website? Instance details 13.232.251.250. Go to Route 53, put that value and say, right, say create records. Now what happened? Now record got created. Now the sarainterior.com name is registrar. The registrar is GoDaddy, which it got registered, but hosted in which? It is hosted in AWS because I am not given to GoDaddy. I told that I will be hosting the DNS in my AWS. Now sarainterior.com will be hosted in AWS. Now go here and say enter. Now I am able to access through Amazon Route 53. Now you people can test it from your mobile and let me know if you're able to access sarainterior.com or your web browser. Are you able to get it?
Yes, Samir.
Clear? Everyone are able to access it? Have you tested it? It's working?
It's working.
Yes, working.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is how you need to access your, Route 53. So the Route 53 here, you can create different types of records. So this is the one of the record you can configure. No, you want to configure the domains, you can register the domains. No, you want to configure the health checks, you can configure the health checks for your DNS and for the monitoring and other purpose. No, you want to transfer the domains, you can transfer the domains. So all the DNS part, whatever you want to do in AWS, through Route 53, you can do it through your AWS. So this is one of the solution what Amazon is providing you, called as DNS as a service, right? And other than this, the very important service which we have is nothing but your load balancer, right? So which you need to understand the hierarchy. It is very important. If you see here my screen, so to see my paint screen. So the hierarchy, how it will work is that the first, let's take users, a different users will be connecting to any kind of a website, right, through internet. So what they do is that, so let me do one thing. So they will be connecting via internet through Route 53. So this is my Route 53. So in the background, I will have my EC2, right? EC2. So which means that any user, whoever wants to access the website via internet through Route 53, they are connecting through EC2. This is what the present it's happening, right? So whenever you connect, you can see here, it goes, connects the EC2, right? You're able to access it. Now, what will happen if this particular EC2 service, let's assume that you have hosted with a website called as flipkart.com or some abcd.com website is there. Now every user is trying to access all users, right? Whichever the users you have created, different users you can take, user 1, user 2, user 3, all are connecting via this only. Let's take an example. Go here, go here, go here. So what happens? The load of this server will become very high. So what all things you consider in the load in general? CPU, memory, network, disk, OS or application load, right? Only this gets highly loaded, correct or not? So when your OS, when your website is not accessing or it becomes slow means what? Either the computer might be CPU, memory, network, disk. Okay, forget about this. You take your own computer. How will you tell your computer is highly loaded? Can anybody answer? Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So what my question is that on what basis you will say that your machine is highly loaded?
CPU memory is highly uses,
Mm-hmm.
or disk is full.
Okay. CPU, memory, network, disk, operating system. So all these are the conditions based on that what you say it is loaded, correct? So let's take, if you say it is highly loaded, right? So let me erase this. I'm erasing. And let me add one more server. Now, on what basis you can say it is, if I have two servers, if I loaded abcd.com here also. ABCD. Now what will happen? Users are connecting, right? So if I have two servers, what will happen? I can distribute the load between two servers. If I have only single server, everything is hitting to single server. Now the load balancing, how it will work is that if I make a load balancer, now any user who connects, so it goes to the, it goes via internet to Route 53. From Route 53, it goes to the load balancer, and this load balancer will distribute the load between the servers. It can be 1 server, it can be 2 server, it can be 3 server, it can be 4 server. Whichever the user is there, they come via Route 53 to the load balancer, from the load balancer to the servers. From the users, Route 53, load balancer to the servers. That is how basically the load balancer is doing the job of distributing the load, right? So it's a job of your load balancer. Now, how does this load balancer does the job of distributing the load? So what you need to understand is that load balancer is nothing but a solution, a mechanism. What it does is that the job of the load balancer is that it distributes all the incoming application traffic across multiple targets. Now, what do you mean by target? Target is nothing but in the background. It can be EC2 instance, or it can be a Docker, or it can be an IP address, so which it can distribute. So to balance the load, Amazon, as a load balancer, Amazon is providing you total. So in Amazon technology, we call it as elastic load balancer. Elastic means unlimited load it can manage. So there are 3 types of load balancers we have. One is called as application load balancer. Second one is called as classic load balancer, and third one is called as network load balancer. How many load balancers we have? 3 types: application, classic, and network load balancer. So if you take an example of single without any kind of a load balancer, in general, one user without a load balancer, he's just trying and connecting to one server, right? So you can see here one user directly accessing the EC2 instance. So if there is a load balancer, then what will happen? Load balancer will distribute the load to multiple EC2 instances. It can connect to multiple EC2 instances. So load balancer automatically distributes the incoming applications and across the multiple application microservices or containers or EC2 instances. So it can distribute between any of these solutions. So load balancer need to have a VPC environment, or you can have it with your customer VPC also. So if you want to have a load balancer, you can route via Amazon Route 53 through your load balancer. In the background, again, you can use your VPC. So load balancer supports both public and private IP addresses within VPC. And you can also define the security settings for your load balancer for the security purpose. And you can also integrate between your VPC and subnets. And Amazon also supports health checks for the load balancer. So what exactly health check does is that health checks allows the users or the end users to shift the traffic from unused or any problematic machines, failed machines. It will route the traffic so that you can utilize it, so that you can connect it without any problems. So let's assume you have 4 machines. If one machine is having any problem, the load balancer is very intelligent. If there is a problem with that machine, it will not give again the connection to that particular machine. It will route the traffic to a different machine. So that is one of the advantage what the load balancer will give you. So the health check means nothing but it will try to communicate with the instances or Dockers or microservices saying, hello, hello, are you there? Are you there? If there is a response, it will route the traffic. If there is no response, it will fail. So next, health checks ensures that you have a proper traffic and it has a, if there is any issues with the traffic, it will not go to that particular session. You can create health checks based on TCP, HTTP, or HTTPS, and you can have the communication configured properly. Idle timeout allows for connection to be closed by the load balancer. So what do you mean by idle timeout? So idle timeout is nothing but, see, nowadays what happens is that every user will try to be on the website for longer time. Some people, what they do is that they go for breaks and they come back, but they expect the session should not close. But load balancer has the timeout session where, like, if the session is idle, means if you're not doing anything on your AWS website for longer time, then automatically the session gets disconnected. So basically, because they have defined the timeout value, it's very important feature. If you take a security, like for example, you might have done some kind of a banking work or banking access or banking application access and all those things. So when you do these things, you might remember, right? So you might see that, whenever you do this banking application work or banking stuff and all, so if you leave it like that, automatically what happens is that after a few minutes, your session gets disconnected, right? So the reason is that security purpose. If they put the session live, there are chances that security breaches might happen. That's the reason they do this idle timeout. So not only in the banking websites, most of the websites, they put the session timeout. If it is inactive, there is no activity done, or it's an idle for so and so time, your session will get disconnected. So Amazon supports, load balancer supports these features. It also supports multiple availability zones. You can deploy your load balancers across the multiple availability zones, and you can associate two or more subnets in different zones with load balancers. Resiliency is also there, like one VPC to another VPC if you want to configure, and to between the multiple availability zones, like zone 1, zone 2 and all, you can define. Cross zone load balancing means multiple availability zone. If you want to manage the load balancer across the zones, that is also possible. So it distributes the request across the multiple availability zones, and no additional bandwidth charges are being charged for the cross zone. And Amazon also supports configuration of listener ports. Listener ports are nothing but the traffic whichever it's coming for incoming and outgoing. So those ports have also been calculated as a listener port for your rules. And you can define a rule what action need to be taken when it comes to the load balancer. So that is also there. So overall, altogether, there are three types of load balancers which Amazon provides you. One is called as an application load balancer. Second one is called as classic load balancer, and third one is called as network load balancer. So the end of the day, the job of the load balancer is same. So what is that load balancer will do? Load balancer job is to balance the load, whether it can be an instance or whether it can be an IP address or whether it can be a container. Basically, whenever the request comes over the HTTP or HTTPS or internal TCP IP traffic, in the background, it will route the request to the instances or IP addresses or containers based on the request. Your application load balancer works under layer 7. So layer 7 load balancing, as I told you, it's a feature of your application load balancer. It also supports HTTPS, means nothing but SSL, and it also supports the SSL encryption transit. So basically, whenever the communication is happening, that time encryption is there, which is supported. And application load balancers support content-based routing, host-based routing, and path-based routing. Basically, when I say path-based routing, means some people might type www.flipkart.com/shoes, flipkart.com/electronics, or some xyz.com websites. So still it will route. Content-based routing, basically somebody types in Google some kind of a content. If they click on the link, the load balancing should happen. And host-based routing directly through a domain name. If you want to route it, you can route it. So all these are the features which your load balancer supports. It supports containerized application support. So containerized container is nothing but a Docker. So now you need to understand what is this Docker is all about, what I'm talking. So do not worry, I'll specially teach you about Docker, then you'll understand. Docker is nothing but a service, or it's a feature. In AWS, we call it as ECS, Elastic Container Service. Like how you have a VM rather than a VM virtual machine, we are making it as a package, as a container, and we are doing it. It's a tiny solution which doesn't use more number of huge space, a simple solution for the applications and other things. Docker is again one more platform, one more service which Amazon is providing you. So your load balancer supports the Dockers also. So that is one of the advantage and benefit what you're getting. Now, how the Docker works, when we discuss about other services, you will learn. WebSocket supports. So Amazon is providing you WebSocket support for the load balancer, application load balancer. Basically, WebSocket support means, for example, users are trying to access a website. In the background, the developer wants to do some kind of a changes on the website. Let's take an example, right? So whenever they want to do any changes, it should work on the real time. It should communicate, right? So Amazon supports WebSockets and the real-time messages are supported. It communicates bidirectional and client, so that whatever the changes are happening, so without the end users having to request, the server gets updated automatically. So that is one of the feature for your WebSocket. Sticky sessions are nothing but a mechanism to route the request from the same client to same target. So sticky sessions are nothing but it's like a cookie. So when the supports the user accessed one website, and when he is back again, he'll be using the same website, so that the sessions are not overlapped or it is not being disconnected. Operational monitoring. So Amazon support load balancer support the monitoring. So where you can configure the metrics, counts, error types, and all those things. And also Amazon supports logging. Logging is nothing but whatever the logs you want. You can configure access logs, S3 logs, and other things, so that you can see number of users connected, number of users disconnected, what is the issues, everything you can find it through logs. For that logs, you can create one S3 bucket and you can create a bucket policy to integrate with the logging, and you can do the connectivity. So that will help you for the logging. And this is also very much useful for your environment. CloudTrail is also there. CloudTrail is nothing but it's an auditing service which can tell you about if there is any changes made to your load balancer, if somebody has modified or some kind of an changes they did, they can get it through your this one through load balancer logs or audit logs. Amazon also supports web application firewall, WAF we say. So firewall, like you all people know, right? So firewall is nothing but a security entry point for your services, which can be network service, which can be storage, which can be database, different types of firewalls are there. So Amazon is supporting something called as web application firewall. So basically this web application firewall is nothing but for any web application. If you want to define application availability, and if you want to configure the security or other things, Amazon is giving you WAF, web application firewall. SSL offloading. SSL offloading is nothing but relies basically the load of SSL, the heavy load on the SSL automatically reduce the traffic, and whenever the load is coming on high with your SSL, nothing but the people who are trying to access the website through HTTPS, what it does is that the encryption and decryption traffic via SSL, it will offload in the background. Basically, the load balancer has a mechanism which offloads the load of your web server, and it process in the to reduce the burden of encryption and decryption via SSL. So this offloading mechanism is also a feature, so that there is no heavy load on your load balancer, and in the background the load balancer has a clusters which it can manage properly. Cross zone load balancing, as I told you, it also has a feature. Classic load balancer versus application load balancer. Now you no need to worry about classic load balancer. Classic load balancer is an old load balancer which doesn't have an option to create a target. By default, it uses a round robin, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, C, like this. And classic load balancer works under layer 4 of the OSI model, which supports HTTP and HTTPS, AT, and in general, HTTP and HTTPS 80 and 443. Apart from it, classic load balancer also supports TCP/IP. So the other thing is that the backend destination server, when fulfill the client request, So the backend reply to the client and the communication will happen with your load balancer. But the only thing is that the client will not have any knowledge in the backend server whether the request has been served or not. When it comes to your classic load balancer, it's mostly works under the layer 4 model. And as I told you, application load balancer works under layer 7. It supports multiple URLs. That's the reason URL based routing is also there. And these are the different features and functionalities which load balancer supports. As I told you, elastic IP address it will support, static IP addresses it will support. It will support load balance to more than one port, right? So if you see the differences, if you take one by one, your elastic IP address you cannot define in application load balancer, but you can define in network load balancer, and you can define in classic, you can't define. So static IP address you can define in the network, but not in the application and classic. And preserving the source IP address you can do in the network. So you need to understand what is the difference between an application load balancer and a network load balancer. In application load balancer, your target will be HTTP or HTTPS, which means that you can only communicate via browser through URL, through browser based solution. Network load balancer through TCP IP you can do. And in all the load balancers, you can configure the CloudWatch, you can configure the logging, you can configure the failover zones, you can configure the connection draining. But if you want to load balance to more than one port on the same instance, you can do through application and network load balancer. You can configure through WebSockets, you can define through IP address targets, and you can also do through protection. And if you want to do the native routing and HTTPS support or idle timeout or cross zone load balancing, SSL offloading, that is only possible in application and classic load balancers. So like this, these all three are the three different load balancers. So all three are having three different features and functionalities. It all depends on use case to use case, where you need to use application load balancer, where you need to use different load balancer you need to define. So it all depends on the use cases. Now coming to the other thing is that now you need to understand how this load balancer will communicate to the instances. So basically, whenever you configure a load balancer will have one virtual IP. So what this virtual IP will do is that, so whenever this virtual IP will be having the client, means end user, it will have a whenever you define some xyz.com with the load balancer, so it basically what it will do is that the load balancer, the virtual IP in the background will be able to talk to the targets. Targets can be instances or Dockers or whatever I have been explaining you. So they define some kind of an algorithms. Algorithms are nothing but technologies, you can say. So in general, if you ask out of topic, this is apart from your AWS, there are basically load balancer. If you take the other technologies or anything, there are four major you can say that options you have, like load balancing algorithms. One is least connection method, directs traffic to the server with fewest active connections. And second is that least response time method, where based on the response of the traffic, the communication will happen. Third one is round robin method. Fourth one is IP hash method. So these are the basic algorithms which your load balancer generally uses. When I say least connection method, means whichever is having a less connection, that will give as a first importance to the application. Least response time method is nothing but whichever has the less response, where lowest average response time on the communication will give the first access. And round robin, I think you all people know, round robin is nothing but you have 4 servers in your AWS, A, B, C, D, one server by another server, one server got the request, then second available server, then third available server, then fourth, it rotates. And IP hash basically it determines based on the IP address of the clients and it will communicate. So these are nothing but these are the algorithms which it uses. So our application load balancer also defines certain kinds of algorithms based on what policies you define. So based on that, you can you can use this load balancing technologies. And also, as I told you, load balancer has
বাবু মায়ের ওই মোবাইলটা এইটা বন্ধ করো না।
hello. Okay, so load balancer also has the pricing. So AWS application load balancer, the charges are depends upon the pricing what you define. So it is basically, we say load balancer capacity units, LCU. So based on the capacity units, the charges are there. So load balancer pricing when it comes to AWS LCU, we calculate. So the number of LCUs which you consume per hour basis, the charges are there, whether you take application load balancer or a classic or a network. So based on the load balancer capacity units, we say. So basically, if you take application load balancers, so partially per hour they charge you around $0.008, depends upon the use case to use case and number of connections you do. So application load balancer, as I told you, which is a majorly used load balancer in AWS. And if you compare with other load balancers, there are so many third-party load balancers also available in the market. But this is a single point of contact which distributes your IP communication in the AWS platform, where you can define listeners and target groups and other things. The other good thing is that you can integrate your load balancer with your auto scaling also, which is one of the feature which AWS provides. So whether you compare with application load balancer, network load balancer, or any load balancer, it is basically it is combination between all these things. You can integrate all these things, application, classic, network. All the job is to distribute the load, depends upon your use case to use case. And also you can use in the background web application firewalls, Route 53, containers, certificate manager, CloudWatch, different thing dependencies are also you can use it with your application load balancers. And other than that, as I told you, it's a layer 7 and it supports containers, it supports additional protocols, HTTP2, and all these are the features what application load balancers uses. Now you will have a doubt, sir, is this application load balancer, is it must? Without application load balancer, can't we do? So load balancer is must for your applications. If you want to have a load balancing solution, then you need it. Now, if you don't want to use application load balancer, you want to go with your own third party or like Citrix, NetScalers, or Juniper, or any kind of a load balancers you want, you can define up to your choice. So Amazon's feature is about the application load balancer, which Amazon is giving you. So it's all depends upon the comparison. If you compare with Citrix, or if you compare with Amazon load balancer, there are so many features are there which is not available, and so many features are there which are available. But yes, application load balancer is basically on demand, so you're not paying anything upfront. It is all based on the use case to use case. So you can use for all your use case environments, you can go with your application load balancer, and it is very easy to deploy. Hardly it will take 2-3 minutes to deploy your load balancer. All these are the functionalities of your load balancer. If you want to define any load balancer or anything in the AWS environment, all that you need is that minimum 2 servers are required. So whatever you have loaded here, same to same, you just need one more server. So I can say instance, create launch instance, and I can select Windows. But remember, whenever you configure application load balancer, it should be installed in multiple availability zones as a preference. But for the classic load balancer, other load balancer, it doesn't require. You can load wherever, same availability zone or a different availability zone, doesn't matter. So review and launch, I acknowledge, and you can say R53 lab, launch instances. You can say view instance, and you can give a name LV2 machine, save. I am changing this name to LV1 just to make our life easier to do a quickly load balancer. So already in one machine, we already installed our web server. So the same thing we are doing in the other machine. So the moment we install in other machine, it just need to configure the website and create a load balancer. To configure or create a load balancer, you get the load balancer options here. So when you go to the load balancer, and when you say create a load balancer, you get three options: application load balancer, network load balancer, and the old generation classic load balancer. So when you say application load balancer, it says that HTTPS traffic, target based applications. And when you say network load balancer, TCP IP. When you say classic load balancer, it supports HTTP, HTTPS, but in L4. So if you say create load balancer in the network, here you need to give the name like NLB, whatever you want to give. But the difference here is that here you need to select, rather than, you can see here, right? IPv4, you need to select. You don't have an option to select the HTTP type because it is a network load balancer. Okay. Now go to the load balancers. Let's wait till this EC2 is completed. You can see here instances. EC2 is getting installed. Instances. What happened? LV2, I changed it to LV1. Okay, now you can see here it's getting installed. Get password, browse, PEM, open, scroll down, decrypt password, copy, go here, connect, Control V, enter, and I'm inside this machine. Now, so what should I need to do is that I need to host a website here also. So just for the testing purpose, what I'll do is that I will just load or copy some web content here. So to do that, as I told you, so scroll down here, start server manager. It's loading. Add roles and features. Wait for a second. Click on next, 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 next. IAS select, add features, next, 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 next. Install. Okay. It is installing. So what we'll do is that once it is done, we'll just try to access the website. So you can go here and copy this page and just check this 13.126. So I'll go here. I'll go to the top, EC2, and let me copy this in browser. I scroll down, Control V, right? I'm able to access the website, right? So I got the basic page. So now if I go here and if I check both the websites, I have both the IP addresses. Now the IP address of LB1 is nothing but this one. So I'm copying this one also in my page, right? So I'm able to access this website, and other one I have not loaded any web content. So I am able to get this web page. Let us not load the web content. Just in the production, remember that your both the servers should have the same content, but just to make sure that we are not doing any mistake to identify whether the load balancing is working or not, I have not changed this website. I'm putting the same as it is just for the testing purpose. But in the production, remember that both content should be same. Now go here on the load balancer page and say create load balancer. So I'm just going for today for the classic. Next week I'll show you application and network load balancer. So this is the old generation load balancer. So classic load balancer, I'm giving a name called demo lab, and I'm going with the default VPC. So I'm going with the load balancer protocol HTTP, no problem. So it's asking for the security group. So I can see here what security group they have been used. So if I go here, scroll down, so launch wizard 34 is one security group, and the other one, if I go, launch wizard 35 is the other security group. So I go here, uncheck, scroll down. So these are the two security groups which are used by those load balancers, nothing but to the instances. So I go here, it's asking for the ping protocol. I will use the internal TCP IP for the communication, add EC2 instances, and both are the two available instances. It's asking, do you want to do enable cross-zone load balancing? Yes, I am okay with that. Connection training get defined, review and create, and say create. So successfully your load balancer got created. Hardly took 1 or 2 minutes, that's it. Your load balancer got created. Go up, just wait till your service gets loaded. So it will take some 2 minutes. to 1 minute to get registered. So if I go here, it is showing out of service. Instance registration is still in progress. So you need to wait till it gets registered. So just wait for a couple of minutes here.
Samir,
Mm-hmm.
if we are creating a load load balancer, then we need to configure two EC2 the same configuration, or load balancing is automatically managed.
No. You need to create whatever is there in the server 1.
Mhm.
The same application should be there in server 2 also. Then only the load balancer,
work.
what your purpose will get solved.
Okay, now suppose I have created a one EC2 and install IIS and everything configured based on the my application requirement. Then second EC2, we need to create the same configuration.
Yes.
Install IIS and everything, right?
Same application, yes.
Okay, so in that case, now suppose I'm doing a auto scaling, thus like a EC2 add a more or delete kind of. In that case, how the load balancer manage?
Auto scaling is different. Auto scaling is nothing but if your load is more, the machines are getting added through your AMI. That we'll discuss next class when we discuss about auto scaling.
Okay.
So I refreshed it now. So now it is showing as in service, right? So which means that your load balancer got registered. Copy this in the browser. Control V. Right? Now you can see, right? Your load is fluctuating. So one time it is going to one server, another time it is going to another server. So if you keep on connect, it will keep on change. Depends upon, you can see, right, how it is changing. Means the request is going from one server to another server, which means that your load balancer is working properly. So depends upon how you are doing it. Open the browser, paste it. Sorry. Understood, right? So that's how your load balancer is working. So you know that the requests are going one by one.
So as per this current last scenario, it seems that it is getting fluctuated. Then how come load balancing is work? Means load balancing is to distribute the load between two hosting servers, right? So that the lagging is going off or something like that.
No, it's happening. No, it is going to one server once, another server another time. Like that, it is going from one server to another server. Depends on the load.
But in that scenario, the load should be, we'll get a proper actionable item on that site itself when the web hosting is, balanced between two servers. That means we get a means low load in because the server is getting fluctuated. Means one time it is coming, another time it is not coming. That's what.
No. See here we have made two different websites. In production, you will have both sides same. So depends on the backend load, it will take it. It is depends on the algorithm. Okay. If the server 1 is having less load, it will take the first priority of that server only. In both the servers, you need to have the same websites. Here, I just for the sake of your understanding, I made it two different websites.
Samir, is there any dashboard that I can check how much load in server?
That is for you need to configure load balancer logs for that. If you want to know how much load is there and all, you need to configure the load balancer logging policies. So if you, okay. So share
Sir, in
screen.
Hello.
You can see my screen, right? You go
Yes.
to Google. ALB logging bucket. So this access logs for your application load balancer. You need to configure this policy through your S3. So then what will happen is that it will give you the details about how many users requested, how much it is connected, complete information will be there.
Okay.
So enable access logging. Can you see this?
Yes.
You need to enable this if you want to do it. Then it will one file in the S3 storage, whatever the number of times the users connected from different browsers, right? It will give one what is that information that these many connections has happened and all those things. The complete load balancer logs you can validate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whether we are going to see this in lab?
If you want, I can show you. It's very simple. Just go create S3 bucket and create. So you already did it S3 bucket last time, website creation, right? Same
Yeah.
thing. Go create a bucket in S3 and tag the policy.
Okay.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Hello. In
Yeah. Ask.
In case of user interactive website, where the data will store, one server or second server?
See, your data your website will have a common database, correct?
In
Your
which server?
website will have a common database or not?
Yeah, maybe in any one server.
No. I think, okay, wait. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
See, first you need to understand website is different. Website data is different. Okay. Now, this is my server. Okay. And inside the server, let's assume this is my web content, web application. Okay. And let's assume I have one more server. And again, I have web application. This application, or again, if I have one more server, again, I have a web application. The application can be IIS, the content of the IIS can be same, but all these people will share one common database. Means everyone will have common database. Okay, a user connecting to this through load balancer. Let's assume this is my load balancer and this is my user. If user is connecting via Route 53 to the load balancer is distributing to these servers. But whatever they do, the changes or everything that gets updated in the backend database. The backend database is only one. Whether the user is connecting from server 1 or server 2 or server 3, the database in the backend will be only one.
So only front end of the website is connected to load balancer.
Yes, only the front end. The backend the database will be only one.
So Samir, and now suppose my database is not giving a good performance. Can we apply the load balancer on the database as well?
No, database doesn't giving the performance. Means what all database technologies are there. Database has a replication technology, database has a high availability technology, database has a mirror technology, database you can increase the performance with the IOPS and all those things you can do.
Now suppose the networking, like if I am connecting from my web application to the database, but through the network, right? But now same situation we are getting, like a CPU utilization and memory utilization and like a network utilization.
If your database CPU utilization, memory utilization is becoming spiked up, then you need to increase, modify, change it to the next level of the instance, configure with the higher value, higher memory, higher network, higher configuration, or you configure the replication to avoid this issues. All those things you can do.
But we cannot apply the load balancer, right? In between.
Load balancer is only for front-end applications. You can do auto scaling.
auto scaling also applicable on the front end application, not on the database.
Auto scaling, no. Auto scaling is nowhere related to database or nowhere related to applications and all. Auto scaling is for a server. The moment the server becomes highly loaded, it will create one more server.
So how we can connect between two servers? Now database, I have a one database and high loaded, and we have applied auto scaling, then created another server.
Load balancer for the database is completely a different different solution. Okay, so if you are planning for load balancer, that load balancer has something called as replication methods for the databases. Okay, so if you are looking for database load balancing, you need to understand about replication methods called as synchronous replication, asynchronous replication, and semi-sync replication. That concept is different. What you are learning is about the application side load balancer, which is on the front end side and network side. So this is different. If you say that your database is becoming highly loaded, then you need to contact your DB database admin who can help you with the replication process for your database or changing it to the next level.
Okay, so do we have an option to increase in AWS, to manage the load balance to increase the high availability? John, high availability means manage the server of database server.
Database server, you have no database. You can modify the volume. You can change the instance type and all those things you can do. No. So database is always single.
In any case, they should have same database that all replication do.
Yes, single, because if it is different, it can't be there. Any common application will have a single database.
In replication, we can replicate some of the tables. That is.
Yeah, so replication of the tables and all different. Replication is nothing but copying of the existing same copy of database to a different location is called as replication. Replication is nothing but process of copying the content from one location to another location that has types: synchronous, asynchronous. Synchronous is nothing but live replication. Asynchronous is nothing but offline replication. Semi-sync is nothing but after the validation, then the replication will start. So those all things will come under database load balancing solutions. So which is basically for the database administrator to manage it. So if you are planning for load balancer on the database, generally we don't do. Generally, load balancer you need to just manage with IOPS, or else you can define a read replicas or replication method. So that is more than enough. But for the websites or web servers, the front end applications, you need to have this load balancers.
So all these e-commerce websites like Flipkart and all, they use load balancer, right?
Yeah, application load balancer they use, and in the backend they use a common single database.
Common.
So Samir, can we use these servers in different availability zones?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
That's the reason, as I told you, for the application load balancer, you need to deploy in multiple availability zones.
Okay.
Okay. So again, there is few more topics are there. Along with the load balancer, we need to learn about load balancing with auto scaling. So next week, I'll show you the application load balancer, classic load balancer, along with the auto scaling. So then you will understand, how you can integrate with the auto scaling with the load balancer. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Happy weekend. Have a weekend. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye.